Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We've had lunch, so there's enough energy for us to join in this conversation. So like Ifeanyi said, my name is Ijoma Igwe, and I'll be moderating the session on dealing with violent conflict using community and people-centered approaches. And I'll not be discussing this alone, but before we go right in, I'm sure this November has been a bittersweet one for all of us here in Nigeria. Looking at the issues, insecurity issues in the country, starting with the mass abduction of the children in Niger State, the 25 schoolgirls that were abducted in Kebbi State, looking at the abduction of people in the church, where we've had lots of fatalities and injuries. What about the Yellow-Water crisis, the Yellow-Water massacre in Benue State, with over 100 people died and 3,000 people displaced? Or do we want to talk about the Bayelsa State pipeline sabotage and repeated attacks on oil infrastructure, which has caused environmental destruction, loss of livelihoods, and community displacement? We can all agree that this November, it's been, not just November, but it's a fresh one that is looking like, where exactly are we going to in Nigeria? So to discuss this, to have this conversation with me, I'll be introducing my distinguished panelists. And I promise you, we have just 40 minutes to converse, and we'll be leaving here with practicality and more intense way of saying enough of a top-down interventions and looking at bottom-up using people-centered approach. So to discuss this, I have Dr. Romy Mom, the President, Lawyers Alert. Please, a round of applause for him as he comes. He's an expert in community-based human rights monitoring, community policing, documentation, and legal empowerment. Also on the panel, I have Mr. Udo Jude Ilo, the CEO of the Hague Institute for Innovation of Law. Please, a round of applause as he comes. His work focuses on addressing impunity, creating innovative approaches to citizen mobilization, and facilitating a solidarity network for the protection of human rights. And on the panel, we also have Mr. Maxwell Kadiri. A round of applause for him as he comes as well. He's from Open Society Foundation. His work focuses on governance reform, civic space, accountability systems, and rights-based approaches. We also have Mr. Maxwell Atsi from Bayelsa State, a community representative. He will bring practical and real-life examples with what has been happening in Bayelsa State. And also on the panel, we have Mr. Idris Akinbajo, Managing Editor, Premium Time. Please, a round of applause for him as he comes. Okay, please keep clapping. He's close. Keep clapping. And also on this panel, we have SP Kuti Stephen from the 1st PRO Department, 1st Headquarters, Abuja. Please, a round of applause for him as he comes. So you see, this panel is a strong panel. Will you agree with me? It's a strong panel, and blessed is me amongst the men. You're welcome, sirs. Please, to the audience, we are going to have a Q&A session at the end, and I hope you join us in this journey as we discuss these critical issues and critical topic. So my first question will be going to the President himself. From Lawyers Alert, Mr. Romy Mom. Sir, from your work documenting violations in conflict-affected areas, what patterns should policymakers be paying attention to?
Well, thank you so much. The very obvious for me would be displacements. We work principally in Benue State. And what we've noticed in Benue is the fact that when this crisis happens, persons are uprooted from places where God planted them. They're taken away from these places, or they run away from these places. And what that happens is that a life of dignity becomes a past tense. Oftentimes, they're in IDP camps, and within these camps, the kind of violations that do happen is such that gives cause for pause for every, decent person. Sometimes much more against the women, whether it's in terms of sexual molestation and all of that. And because these are conflict areas, when this begins to happen, you also have the issue of the communities themselves being doubly affected in terms of security. Poverty deepens. The woman who sells akara in the evening can no longer come out and sell akara to feed the kids in the morning so they can go to school. Robbery, banditry, all those things starts to be the order of the day. But for me, I think what the authorities should really look at is the issue of displacement. As it is today, in these places, and I'll talk about Benue, for example, there seems to be the issue of taking persons back to their lands as something that we should plan forever. In the interim, persons are born in IDP camps. Some are trafficked, and all of that. But the federal government, in the last administration, for example, budgeted a lot of money for IDP camps. And you know what? The money was meant to build houses in the IDP camps, which is like saying persons should no longer return back to their ancestral homes, where there's a spiritual connection, where a lot of dignity awaits them. And I think these resources can be channeled towards, dislodging persons who are propagating violence and returning persons to their places where the life of dignity, a life of where women are secured and all of that, where resilience is assured. The sad thing again in all of this for us is that when conflicts takes over a particular area, security sector accountability suffers a great deal. You are in some places where persons can no longer complain. They just suck it in and take it in because there are no redress mechanisms around them. They have all been eroded. Trust in governments lowers, trust in security sector lowers, and all of that. Of course, you have security structures, oversight structures that persons should go to. But regrettably, one thing again the policymakers should look at, regrettably, these security oversight structures are not resourced enough, neither are they empowered, neither is there the political will for them to even discharge the mandate that are constitutionally supposed to discharge. So it's a hydra-headed monster in terms of the violations you have, where oftentimes it's even one upon the other in terms of being doubly affected. So I would think that the first thing for policymakers and for government is to see how persons in camps can be returned back to their land. That will mean dislodging the aggressors, dislodging the perpetrators of violence. Because often, in 2025, in our country today, we are talking about conquest of, we have the Land Use Act, we have the laws where you want to have someone's land or you want to, get a piece of land. There are ways to go about it, but persons are going about conquering people and land in 2025. And government is talking about building structures in the IDP camps. 100 billion was voted for this. And it shouldn't be. We should talk about returning persons to their lands. I think for me that's really very important.
Thank you, sir. There's a whole lot you said from there. Sir, during your speech, I also heard you talk about accountability, and I think there's an accountability gap. So how can communities practically push for redress?
Yeah, I think communities can practically push for redress when they collaborate with, shall I say, civil society organizations, credible civil society organizations in the areas. Because oftentimes when complaints are made, it's not enough. And so the National Human Rights Commission, credible civil society organizations, sometimes strategic impact litigation, it's a very good way of going about it. Akitunde was talking about the OSF project, for example, that is being implemented. And part of it is to have organizations, probably like SERAP, who engage in strategic impact litigations, to go to court and see how communities can begin to, take advantage of the law or use the law or whatever is left of the law in these areas to respond. And I think that is really very important. And communities can't really do this, for example, if we do not educate them. And so there should be the mass, what I call legal empowerment, in terms of persons knowing their rights and all of that. It often seems like, oh, we've done this before. But here's the thing. You can't enforce your rights. You can't talk about your rights if you do not know them. And the right to stay safe, your right to be secured, the obligation of that government has to citizens to protect them can be taken for granted if citizens do not know this. And so we should embark on a mass education for persons to know that government owes them the obligation they have a right to protection of their lives, their properties, and all of that. I think that would be very important in terms of what communities can do to, respond to this state of affairs.
Thank you very much, sir. One thing I picked from there is human rights is important, and everybody needs to know they have that right, and mass education as well. Okay, thank you very much. Building on this, I'm moving on to Mr. Udo. Sir, given where you're from, the CEO of Hills, what innovations have proven effective in similar contexts globally?
Thank you very much. And thanks to CJID for bringing us together for this important conversation. I think that the starting point for me is that you cannot, as they say in my village, I'm a village man, so indulge me. They say in my village, you cannot shave a man's head in his absence. It's impossible. And we can't keep creating security solutions without involving communities who are in the middle of it. The sad news is that a lot of times when these violent acts take place, when communities are going through this horror, we sit down in the fine offices somewhere out here in Abuja and begin to design a solution of how we're going to respond, or in the government houses, without listening to the community. So ask them exactly, what do you want? How can we help you? And the problem, therefore, is that you create solutions that are context misfits, that won't work. So I give you an example. Somewhere in Borno State, when the military had dislodged Boko Haram and the communities had come back, the military created, a zone around the community where they had their soldiers and all of that. Kind of a buffer zone for the community. Now, guess what? The buffer zone did not include the farm, meaning that the communities could not go to their farms, could not get firewood, could not get food products back to their houses. And, of course, it's a starvation issue. Until there was a conversation between the army and the community, and the military said, we don't have enough men, to expand. And the community said, but we need to get to the farm. And they worked out a system where both the military and the community agree on specific days and time when the military will escort the women to go to the farm. Very basic example, but if there was no consultation and interaction between the communities and the military, this wouldn't have happened. And you would have had a very beautiful buffer zone encircling people who are starving. And so, for me, that's the starting point. We have to see the security challenges that Africans, Nigerians are facing from the eyes of those who are living that reality. And have the modesty to understand that they know these things more than we do, even if we are security experts, as the case may be. The second thing is that for you to see through the eyes of the communities, you have to listen to them, but they have to trust you. If they don't trust you, they won't talk to you. And the only way that you can earn their trust is by empathy, which is totally absent in this country. We see instances where there is a bombing, there is killing, and political calendars are kept regardless of whatever is happening to communities. So people are burying their children or looking for their kids, and we are going to receive people who are joining one political party or the other. So that level of insensitivity, and I dare say, terrible leadership, creates the impression that government just doesn't care. And even when government therefore wants to talk to the people, they are not interested because you've not shown empathy. You didn't identify with them when they were in this situation. And why would they trust you? And so to be able to build that trust, you have to show empathy. And the final point is that what has worked everywhere is that when you make commitments to the communities, you deliver on them. If you say, I am going to accompany you to the market, you show up when you have to accompany them to the market. If you say the perpetrators of this heinous crime will be brought to justice, you should very well bring them to justice. But we see instances where government come out and make this pronouncement of how they are very upset about something and how the perpetrators will be brought to justice. And the next thing, we see them engaging the same perpetrator in a way that suggests that they are seeking their mercy and not giving them the punishment that they deserve. And so this constant display of, call it negotiation from a premise of weakness by government with some of these perpetrators, some of these terrorists in the country, is also making communities believe that these guys, the government, cannot take care of us. They are powerless to take care of us. And if you can't follow through, they don't trust you. If they don't trust you, they don't talk to you. And if they don't talk to you, you can never succeed in restoring security to those areas.
Thank you very much, sir. Wow. Please, a round of applause for him. So, Mr. Jude has given us some insight, practicality. Mr. Maxwell, I'd say I'm coming to you. Just tell us your experience. What has it been like? Is what he's saying, can we relate it to what you've experienced in Bayelsa State?
Yes, very well. Most times we talk about people's approaches, and we talk about doing what is right. Now, someone asked a question. He said, how do you hear from people who want to do the right thing, but don't have the necessary skills to do those things? Now, most times, policymakers believe, go to the people, hear from them, and work on what they have to say. But then, we miss a component of that, meet the people. Who are the people? We oftentimes don't understand the fact that gender is very vital. You would call for a town hall meeting as big as this hall, and then you would discover that all you are seeing here are just men. Not just men. Now, most of the times, they are men from the same group. Possibly people in the Chieftaincy Council. The youth are missing. The women who play very vital roles are missing. And then we tell ourselves that we are talking to the people. Are we correct? Mm-hmm. We need to understand who the people are in every context. It's gone beyond that point where we want to just program, write reports, and do all of these things. We need to see issue of safety no longer an issue of data alone,
but human lives. If we don't start to see these numbers as representing lives, then we have a very long way to go. Now, most of you will be surprised to know that in Bayelsa State, we have IDP camps in Bayelsa State. How did you come about these things? It all started from the flood period. Flood came about, people left their homes to escape flood, and then they couldn't go back. Why? Because before they went back, those places had been ransacked. They can no longer go to their villages again. They've lost their livelihood. These things are not talked about. It now becomes the norm. Life continues. Funny enough, these so-called IDP camps even have polling units. Meaning that we don't have a plan, like you said, for them to go back to their homes any longer. So tell me, how can we say we are talking to the people? For us to have a people-centered approach, we need to know the category of persons we are meeting. It doesn't end there. You can select the women, the chief, the youth, and everybody. You can't bring the whole village together, right? But then you need to guide them. I'll give you an example. We had a project for 3 communities. And then I went to assess the project. And I discovered that the 3 communities chose the same livelihood, which was strange to me because I know the terrain very well. I had to investigate what happened. Why did they not choose the same livelihood? I found out that the people that selected people for the program chose their friends for that project. That was the first mistake. Bring people come from the community. Just call your friends. They called them and they came for the program. 2 weeks in the hotel. Now, you want to say, oh, they're from the community, right? They didn't end there. Now, the first people now said, for us, we want cassava. The other said, give us the same thing too. And that was how they all had cassava. You can imagine the millions spent in building those parties for them. Only one community was able to sustain it till now because that was what they wanted. Now, to that, the person asked, most times, it's not enough for us to bring them together. We need the expertise of those of us in the community to guide them to see what they need to do. Now, in second phase, what do you do in second phase? You ask them some questions. In this community, what do you need that you don't have, that you go to the next place to get? And we had a lot of answers. They said they don't have bricklayers in that community. No plumbers. No tailors. Even to photocopy. They have to take boats to the next communities. Now, because of time, I would like to just pinpoint some facts. Now, what has worked for us majorly is this. We make sure we handle every element as a separate entity. I'll come to that. Now, the answer to the president made a statement. He said she has given up hope on the grown-up ones and focusing on what?
The younger ones.
The ones that are coming up. Yeah. Now, what did we do? We know that most people that have grown up, we can't start telling them about values in the way we tell the younger ones. So we had special program for them. Theirs was core skills training. Now, people will say, but this is what I've been doing. Yes, the government have been doing skills training over the years and buying equipment for them. But we forgot that those in the community that takes as much as 8 hours to the state capital don't get to know for these things. So when the government starts training people, no accommodation for them, right? So the government only trains those that are available in the state capitals. So most of them have like 4 or 5 training because they need numbers. We took intervention deep into the creeks to those that wanted, that needed it. And what did we get? People will always say, those in Bayelsa, they are too lazy, they don't want to learn and all that. For the pilot phase, we said we want 50 per quarter. I can tell you we got as much as 200 persons per quarter. Not just people, but we've got people that have abilities. They also came to learn skills. What did we do? We made sure they learned those skills. The practical was done in the communities. Those for plumbing, any plumbing contract in that community, the trainers had to take up the contracts, and those people were now learning on the job. And while doing that, they're getting paid. At the end of the day, we have a NAPTEP to make them certified. So that when opportunities come for them to go and get jobs, they can present certificates as something that they've learned. We did not give them any equipment, but I can tell you they have a livelihood today.
Okay, so just to follow up with what you've said, I like the fact that you stressed on critical analyzing community needs. It's not a one-cap-fit-all.
Yes.
And then you also talked about not being too inclusive. So you have a town hall where women are not there. So can you just tell us how has this affected women, youth in your community? And what do you think can be done to change this? Okay,
thank you very much. Now, most communities will tell you that women are not allowed to come to the town hall where titled men are seated. We are not going to destroy or fight against culture. Okay, what did we do? We invited these women separately. Because if you carry 200 men to the hall, they will not say a word when the men are. So the purpose of bringing them is defeated. So we had IPCs with them, where they told us a lot of things, and that made us to have what we called a women's summit.
Okay.
In the communities. That summit was where we had to plead with the women to say, please, we need to speak to these women. We brought interpreters to the summit. Where these women told a lot of things that they are not even allowed to contest. But I can tell you, in this commission, that we now have women who are contesting and won elections.
Okay.
These women played an important role in making sure that the Youth Vocational Center became a reality for us. Now, for the youth in communities have one thing we don't understand. They have the power. Any youth person in any community has the power that I can say is as much as the governor of a state, in fact, the community is concerned. We worked with them. Majority of them don't speak proper English. So that made us be more hostile and withdrawn because they feel that we want to come and make them see their flaws. What did we do? We worked with the community and spoke the language they understood. And today, these youths have made a difference for us. They've made laws by themselves, which has been working for them in the communities.
Wow.
As we speak right now, most of the communities you're talking about now, people keep asking us, how did you do it? We said we did not do it, they did it. And for us, it's not about us, it's about them. What change can they make? Behavioral change is the key component of our intervention, which has given us so much results so far.
Okay.
Now, in area of apart from those grown-up ones, we worked with the children. Majority of in Bayelsa are out of schools. It's not an educational program, but then we have to make sure that we make a change. What do? We have a program where we adopted a UNOC project called Line Up, Live Up. It's for those out of school. That's 12 curriculum. Mm-hmm. Where we teach them respect, goal setting, and lots more using sports.
Okay, sir, you really have a lot of experience to share. And we'll have more of the panelists to also discuss. We'll come back to you so you finish your statement. So the next question will be for Mr. Idris. Building on what Mr. Maxwell has said, the media plays a critical role in shaping narrative around security. And you've heard a lot of things Mr. Maxwell said. I want to find out from you, how can journalists balance security concerns with the duty to expose abuses?
Thank you very much. I think one way journalists can balance security concerns with their reporting is to stick to journalism ethics. One of the fundamental principles in the ethics of journalism is that you must seek to minimize harm. One, you must seek to minimize harm to yourself while reporting. Two, you must seek to minimize harm to your colleagues. You must seek to minimize harm to communities. You must seek to minimize harm to society. So what that means is, while you are trying to report accurately, accuracy is also one of the fundamental ethical principles, you must ask yourself, in what way is this story possibly causing harm to myself or to my community, or worsening the security situation? If that is the case, then you must reflect on it before making a decision. So you must be conscious about the likely impacts of your story And that's why a lot of times journalists keep information to themselves at some point until certain informations or certain situations are considered more peaceful for such information to be released. However, more importantly is the fact that journalists must no longer wait for conflicts to become violent before reporting it. What is becoming increasingly problematic is that until conflict becomes violent, journalists do not report it. Conflicts can be latent and existing in communities and societies for decades, and journalists don't pay attention to it. But until something triggers violence, then journalists rush in to report that conflict. And the problem that creates then is that rather than look into the root causes of the conflict, journalists then report the trigger as if the trigger is the problem, whereas the trigger is just an effect of the root cause. So for any conflict reporter, whenever you are reporting about conflicts, you must ask yourself, if these killings of this violence just happened now, is this just the trigger, or is this really the root cause of the conflict in that community? If it's just the trigger, what are the root causes in the community? At what point did the conflict become violent? I argue, for example, that a lot of the violence you see in Nigeria, whether it's in the Niger Delta, whether it's in the southeast, whether it's in the northwest, whether it's in the middle belt, is because people perceive injustice, rightly or wrongly. Communities perceive that they are unjustly treated. And perception of injustice is as important as injustice itself. That's why the Nigerian government perhaps has not realized that if a people perceive that they are being unfairly treated, it is as important as them being actually unfairly treated, because it will then influence the way they act even when triggers happen. So for journalists, we must be conscious of the fact that we should not wait until conflicts become violent before we report them. And secondly, we must understand that we must look beyond the triggers of violence and look to the root causes of violent conflicts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just a follow-up question with what you've just said. I just want to know, when journalists are reporting, do you just report because you want to make the news? Or do you have the community people at the center of your reporting? Do you think about how they feel? Do you think about the narrative that help push their story out?
What you are saying in modern journalism construct, because of citizen journalism, is that everybody is in a rush to break the news.
Yes.
So, in reality, the concept of breaking news has made it, quote unquote, less important for true journalists to do their jobs professionally. Everybody wants to be the first to break the news. And because we want to be the first to break the news, we are no longer concerned about accuracy. You are no longer concerned about fairness. You are no longer concerned about ensuring that you are fair to all parties. You are no longer concerned about ensuring that you minimize harm to all parties. But what I always try to remind our colleagues in the media is that breaking news speed is not an ethical construct of journalism. It's a modern-day construct because of the internet. So for us at Premium Times, for example, where I work, what we tell our journalists is it must be accuracy first, accuracy second, accuracy third, before speed. You must never be in a rush to break news and sacrifice accuracy on that basis. So you must always remember that speed is important, but it's not an ethical construct. It's not a value you should bring to journalism. What should be paramount is accuracy. But secondly, even in considering accuracy, you must ask yourself, what is this issue of importance to the community? If it is, if you believe the information is of public interest to know, then report it. But if you believe that this information can cause more harm, which is what I talked about, minimizing harm, can cause more harm to the community, you can actually withhold such information to prevent harm to the community. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for him. Okay, so just to SP Kuti Stevens. So you've heard, when I started, I was talking about the crisis we've been facing in the country, but there's been issue of delayed response. So we'll give an example with Kebbi State. We heard there was an intelligence information on oh, they are coming to attack the school, this, and that. Same thing with Niger State. Oh, there was an information passed. But then what we see is that there's a delayed response from the security agencies. What is the major cause of this? Because it's really affecting people in the community.
Sorry, madam. The information came from where, please?
From the news, sir, from the news.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Speaking about information, I would only speak about that which I'm privileged to.
Okay, sir.
Do you understand? Speaking of situations of that, that's things of national interest, and I wouldn't want to speak on that. You understand? Everyone in Nigeria understands what the situation is so far. And I think speaking about it in a place like this, we should be very cautious, and we need to be very mindful.
Okay.
You see, the Inspector General of Police on his own part, IGP Adeolu Kayode Egbetokun, is trying every possible means, which I will not be speaking of here, to trying to see how we are able to bring this insurgency and things of such nature to rest. As we can see, let's give thanks to God. Some of the victims who were kidnapped are already back to their families. You understand? Let's give thanks to God. And let's be hopeful that others would also rejoin their families very shortly.
Okay, so just a follow-up question. You have a Police Act 2020 and Section 113 to 116 of the Act talking about community policing. So I'm sure you'll be free to talk about this one.
Yes, I will.
Okay. So the community policing, do you have any feedback from the community? Is it working? Or is there another delay from that as well?
Well, there's no delay. As you can see, the speaker to my left and the speaker to my right rightly did justice to any question you're going to ask me. He spoke about Bielsa, and he spoke from the angle of journalism. I hope I'm communicating. All right, my class is going to be more of interactive, because when we talk about community policing is not far-fetched from every one of us in here. We have members of the community, we have the journalists, and we have the police. I will speak from the angle of the police. He has spoken from the angle of the community, and he has spoken from the angle of the journalist. In making community policing work, there are so many factors that we need to put into consideration, and part of them is just one, members of the public, engaging members of the public in whichever means you can. You understand, maybe town hall meetings and things of such. Most especially our youths are very, very important. You understand? Then we have organizations which have been very helpful in seeing this thing come into a reality. We have the likes of the Clem Foundation, we have the POCACOV, we have the UNDP. These are organizations that have assisted within time to educating our members of the public. At least Clem Foundation has educated 10,000 persons, I can speak of categorically, about community policing. I feel the more we educate our members of the public about the need to collaborate with the police. You understand? When they see reasons to collaborate with the police, when there is trust, that they have trust in the policeman whom they are going to meet, when we have prompt information from members of the public as regards a crime, it also enables us. No policeman is a magician. It's only by information we get from members of the public that we actually act. But how do we act if members of the public don't trust us? That is why, one, we need sensitized members of the public about a partnership with police. If there's any event occurring in Bielsa, as the speaker here said, he will be in a better position to tell us of such occurrence and to tell us on how we could best solve such issues. But if he doesn't have that, if there is no rapport between us, no synergy, no collaboration, how then does he pass such information? How then do I conceal such information and see how we could act towards ensuring a peaceful state? You understand? Yes, if the journalist, on the other hand, hears of something and doesn't verify such facts and goes out and makes a publication, fake news, rumors spread faster than the right news, as we all know. That's why I said every one of us in here are already practicing the community policing. We all just don't understand. And this CIJD program is giving us an opportunity to actually exhibit it. I have a journalist to my right who knows if, like you rightly said, if a journalist is not fast to reporting, but confirming facts in whatever news is trying to transmit out, it actually helps the society. There will be no panic out there. There will be no crisis and nothing. If the elder statesman understands, hey, come, I could call this officer. I could tell him of one or two things we've noticed within our community that are not supposed to be. You understand? It hates my work as a policeman. If the three of us come together and collaborate in oneness, I tell you, together we can achieve community policing. It's achievable. And the IGP of the Nigerian Police Force is fervently working towards achieving that better goal, more than that which we have achieved in 2025. Hopefully by 2026, we will see a more robust community policing scenario.
Thank you so much. Just one more question
You're
for
very
me.
welcome.
So what are you doing? Because really they'll tell you there's no smoke without fire and there's no reaction without an action. Okay. There's an issue of mistrust. What are you doing to build the trust between the police and the community?
Okay, well, I would speak for, I used to be Deputy Public Relations Officer for Lagos State Police Command under the able leadership of the present Force Public Relations Officer, CSP Benjamin Odein. Then he was PRO Lagos State Command, and I was his deputy. And you see, we always had this community events, which I had one which the Lagos State Lagos State government adopted. We call it a Police Youth Dialogue Program. And we take it from every what do we call it? Local government area within the state. We look for a town hall where we invite police officers from different divisions. Then we invite the youths within the vicinity, students and all that, artisans, even to members of the National Union of Road Transport and the rest, market women. We invite everyone, we all sit down and talk, where people are free enough to express their anger, express their distrust to the police, and where we equally sensitize them on how they could make useful use of the relationship they have with the police. That you need not fear a policeman. The police are truly your friend. You understand? I can tell you this categorically. Am I not referring to everyone in this hall? Okay, if you call me, if you don't call me your friend, I'll say you are my friends. I acknowledge that. So it's just sensitization, and when we have proper sensitization of members of the public, and we have more time to spend together, ask us how many people even know the DPOs in their division, in their areas. Many of us don't. There are many people who have never been arrested by a policeman but have natural hatred for a police officer just because one person said it. I tell people, don't buy the idea of rumors. Go and verify things yourself. Okay. That's why the journalist said journalism is better practice after verified facts before making out your news. So please, don't get this wrong conception or misconception about the police, but rather try visit the division that has jurisdiction over where you reside. Make friends with them. As a citizen, if you have the number of the DPO of your area or the SO or somebody, it helps you in days of crime. If there's any happening around your area and you wish to report, at your comfort, you can go into your room and place a call and nobody would even know you did such. You could send a message. But because we all have this hatred, you cannot run away from the police. Mm-hmm. If you have issues, it is only us you have to run to. Would you run to the criminals? Mm-hmm. No, you wouldn't. Okay, so sir, please, let's spend time. Okay, let's all engage in doing that. And there will be a better society for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I see Mr. SP Stephen is giving us the response that we need. Police is our friend, right?
Yes.
No? Okay, we are coming back. We are coming back. It's getting interesting. Mr. Maxwell Kadri, I'm going to come to you on accountability. You've heard what SP Kuti Stephen said. What's your take? How do you think we can hold the police accountable?
First of all, thanks a lot. I would have actually said I would yield my time to the floor. Because I see most of my colleagues on the panel have said several aspects of what I would contribute. And I would want us to do things differently as per what happened in the previous panels, because it's not every time that the public has the opportunity of engaging with the police. And you can see the interest on the floor.
Yes, yes.
So
we'll have time for the
so I want to extract your commitment.
Okay, yes,
on that,
we do.
Even if the program runs over.
We do have time, sir.
Okay, okay. So if we have time, then fine.
We do have time.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard Oga Stephen, because I call him Oga Stephen. Both in terms of law and practice, there are existing accountability frameworks, particularly for police excesses. And that's why you had, luckily, again, Oga Romy once served on the board of the Police Service Commission, which is one of the accountability frameworks set up by law to deal with excesses of police, both in the area of recruitment, promotion, and then basically cautioning them when they actually violate the provisions of the law. But that is from a framework of a governmental institution. But we also have the court system, the Ministry of Justice and the judiciary, before whom excesses of the police could also be addressed. But I think we also have a much bigger issue, as is shown from the deliberations here, which is breakdown of trust between the people and the law enforcement institution, in this case, the police. And it's something that we should not minimize. And it's something that having jingles saying the police is your friend is not going to resolve it. Because people need to believe by way of action and practical effort that when the police says the police is your friend, I can tell a story of how the police has been my friend. But and they say the voice of the people, for those of my people who are people of faith, they say the voice of the people is the voice of what?
God.
Exactly. So, and this is also speaking to a dimension of this whole program that's why I said my colleagues on the panel have spoke about it in some form, of people-centered security frameworks. Because if you don't take that on board, then there's a fundamental problem. And whatever you build on a foundation that is not solid would what? Crumble.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, a round of applause for him. Mr. Maxwell Kaji really loves the audience. We are giving most of his time to the audience. And we'll do 3 people first. So 3 fingers, 3 lucky fingers. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's do the 3 first. If we have more time, we'll take more. Please say your name, organization, and who you're asking the question.
My name is Rokpo Shekoni. My organization is Wale Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay. I'm happy for those who really designed this interaction. The issues, I have seen a few non-problematics, even in the question we ask them, especially the policeman among us. The question is not whether we are friends with the police or not. We have to take a little look at the history of the colonial police in this country and see whether we have graduated from the colonial constabulary. The purpose of policing is to protect the society and the people.
Yes.
But in Nigeria, whether you are a politician or you are a banker or you are a policeman, everybody in any kind of profession wants monopoly of the power that the profession dispenses. We should not be talking here about whether we should have a central or a multi-level policing. It is us as citizens that will determine what we are going to have. What theory support. I listened to a few months ago when he was pleading that the best way to police Nigeria is to have this kind of police that we have. A police system that has not inherited our heritage. Let us decentralize. Don't worry about your job. Your job will be there. So let us decentralize. Why is it that in America they decentralized? Those in England that came to colonize us and to create the kind of policing you are running, they have decentralized. So let us have a re-dialogue, and I'm happy you have helped us to start that. Let us know what bothers you, and we will let you know our grievances.
Thank you, sir.
We want multi-level policing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Odo, do you want to react to that? Then we'll go back.
I gave my time.
Yeah. So Maxwell gave his time.
Exactly.
So we have to be very brief.
Yes.
But I also don't want this to become an inquest on the Nigerian police. There are other security agencies, the military, the whole of them. So I think it will be very helpful if we take it as a holistic conversation so our dear Oga doesn't feel like he's on the hot seat. However, the reason why the police comes up repeatedly is because in the front line of security architecture, the police stands there. So actually the police is the first institution you interact with when you're dealing with the cohesive force of the state. And that is why the way we see the whole security architecture is oftentimes framed by how we see the police. Therefore, the conversation is even so very much important, because if we don't trust the police, it's difficult for us to trust anyone along that chain. So I just wanted to make that observation so that we remember that there are others, there is the civil defense. All of these institutions have not done enough to endear our trust, clearly. And the conversation should be about how that trust can be rebuilt. And the demands we should be making is giving the rules on how we want this relationship to evolve going forward from today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Who is the second person? Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Folami Folashire, president of the editorial board, CDS. So my question is also to ST Stephen. You had mentioned that trust is what is lacking. My question is, how do you suggest that we build that trust, honestly? Because from personal experience, there's a lot that happens, not just with the police, but like you said, with all the security outfits, I would say road safety and all of them. Someone has already told me not to sound too aggressive, so I'm just trying to rein in my words. But like, how do you suggest that we trust when the trust hasn't been earned? Because it's just unrealistic to ask that. Basically.
Okay, thank you. Can we take the third question and then we'll come back?
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
My name is Onimole Buluatfe. I'm governor of the Batch B1, SDG CDS. And my question is to the speaker that spoke on community, especially in terms of when he said Bayelsa. I would like to ask, how do we build empathy amongst us as a community? We have gotten to a stage where we say all man for themselves. When he was talking about community and various other things, he talked about the fact that when there was an event, everybody brought their friends. Now there's this all man for themselves kind of mindset, and I can't blame individuals because it has to do with the survival mode mindset. So I would like to ask, how do we build empathy that we don't get immune to other people's suffering just because we are enjoying? Because if we are able to build empathy, it will also solve our security problem. Secondly, I would like to address the SP. there was a scenario that came to my head. When a child is frequently beaten, it doesn't matter who holds the cane. Whoever holds the cane is that cane the child will always see, not the person. So the person might be good or bad, but just because you are holding the cane, that makes the child scared. So as much as we want to build trust, various people will recount their stories about the police. I would like to recount just 2 scenarios. One time, there was a time I was in the bus and we were talking about young men were telling me how they've been harassed by the police. And then a second scenario, I came down from a bus. It was quite a very wrong way of coming down. And the police officer admonished me, like, you shouldn't have come down that way and stuff. And he was quite friendly about it, and I said, thank you. Those are 2 sides of the coin. Not everybody could see that experience that way. So how do you let people understand that there are so many eggs, there might be bad ones, but there are still the good ones? And how can you make sure that it's the good ones they pick into the basket, not the bad ones?
Thank you very much for the question. Please, a round of applause. Thank you, audience. It's been very engaging. So who will go first?
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
They always say, who no go, no no, right? Let me share an experience. We recruited trainers to train the community. Now, because we wanted people from the region that could speak the language, we picked Bielsans to head the team. Now, do you know that a trainer that has stayed in Bayelsa all her life, in quotes, got to the community and started crying? And she said she would not want to go back there again. Why? Because she saw the reality of what people are living in poverty. No clothes, no food. And when she saw that, she said she was traumatized. We didn't need to preach empathy to her. When you go and you see, you will get a picture clear. Now, for those that chose their friends, there is always a reaction to every what? Action. Those communities did not do well. And in the second phase, they lost a lot. Now, in the first phase, the project refurbished police posts in the communities, where we gave them walkie-talkie, gave them AC, everything. But because they chose their friends, they could not do a lot of the feedback actions that came from those exercises. Now, as we speak now, we renovated 3 vocational training centers where millions were spent in getting out of the state facilities. Those communities did not get. Because when they went back, they could not function. Those so-called friends were not based in the community. And we made them understand that this action of not following up, this is what the community has lost. Good enough, we invited them to come and witness the commissioning of other communities where the governor and ambassadors came. This new set now, nobody told them before they did what is right. So if you want to put survival mode, how long can you survive alone? If you want to survive for long, you have to work synergize. Doing what is right saves you a lot and gets you more.
Thank you.
If they've done the right thing, they would have benefited from the vocational training support, which was worth in millions. But because they did what is wrong, they regretted it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I would want to give SP Kuti a chance to also respond to his question.
Thank you very much, ma. To everyone who asked their questions, thank you very much. Papa, let me start from you, sir. I appreciate your question so much. Well, talking about we still living in the colonial era as police officers, if you heard what the moderator said, she said, going by Police Act and Regulation 2020 from section 113 to 119, she said up to 116, spoke of community policing As at the colonial era, there was nothing called community policing. So if we are acting under Police Act and Regulations 2020, means we are far gone from the colonial era and we are in this millennium, sir. So I feel that best answer. For every other thing you said, I feel it's a structural thing and it's not within my purview to respond because I'm not part of the management. I am only a police officer representing the Office of the Inspector General of Police as the admin officer to the Force Public Relations Department. So, my brother talking about gaining trust. You see, I want to believe persons like myself and other colleagues out there are equally graduates, just like you. If, after graduation from school, I saw service to humanity as a thing of choice, I feel it's not bad if we all, they said if you complain about irregularities and things not going well, try and see a way you could equally contribute to your quota. We have the PCRC, that's the police community If we as youths join this PCRC, we have the police spy police. We have youths here who can equally be members of this. If we feel there are one or two irregularities, let's not be at that end of always condemning and always seeing people's faults. I have never loved being that way. I'm a Kuti family member, and my family at least has that reputation for speaking some reality for those of us who know the family well. I believe in, rather than judging the next man, then why don't I see how I could contribute my own little quota? If you do good, I do good, and we all come together. That's the collective response we talk about community policing. But you being at the other end, castigating me and chastising me for whatever I do, there are some of us with very genuine intentions. All policemen are not bad. There is no section, there is no sphere of life that we don't have the bad eggs. I'm not saying the police are any exceptional. We are the mostly found ones. When you talk of times of crime and anything, we are the first respondents to all these things. That is why you see our little faults. I'll call them little because there are other people who do worse things than the police. But because at every point in time, the policeman is that man you will find on the street. While you're sleeping at home, there's a policeman on the road who is trying to keep you safe. While it is raining, there's a policeman on the road who is trying to clear the road for traffic reasons, just to make you get home. While there is sun shining, there's always a policeman everywhere. Please, for once, let's all at least clap and say thank you to the Nigerian police. Please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I really wish we had so much time. I'm sure we would have had a lot of conversation, a lot of questions. But thank you so much, sir, for that. Just a quick wrap up from what I've heard from the conversation. Top-down interventions alone are not enough. There's a critical need for people-centered approaches and strong community-driven accountability. Partnership is essential from government, civil society, communities, media, law enforcement. No one should work in silos. We need to work together to build self-inclusive communities. And most importantly, communities must be at the center as their voices, experiences, and solutions drive change. Just like before we started, Mr. Kitunde told us about the projects that CGID is doing. That's the People-Centered Public Safety project. This will continue this because it's going to be more of practical and not just theory. So I would like to say a big thank you to our panelists and the audience.